Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Gruesome and Grotesque video here. Thought I would mix another one in here as another test. I did the first one a couple of weeks back. It looks like I had a pretty good response when it came to that video. So this one I wanted to do a second go around, see how it goes. If everything works well, then it'll absolutely cement the idea that this will be a new series that I can continue going forward. The only thing that kind of hesitates me on doing these further is the fact that it seems like Google Ad and AdSense still seems to be a little bit restrictive when it comes to this video. So I'm going to see how it goes this go around when it comes to these YouTube ads. But yes, indeed, this has to do with a tale that just occurred the other year or so, and this one involves a young gentleman who met a demise in a really grotesque manner. Like when I first read it, I was thinking to myself, man, what a way to go in this world when it comes to exiting it. And it has to do with this. It's the tale of the young man who fell into a boiling spring there in Yellowstone National Park and basically ended up being dissolved alive. So very, very grotesque stuff. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the information associated with this mournful tale, because yes, indeed, this is something as a warning for everyone who goes out to this national park with regards to the dangerous areas surrounding that touristy spot. So this actually happened back in 2016, specifically, I think it was around June or so, to be exact. It was during that time period that there was a young man, in this case, a guy by the name of Colin Scott, who went there with his sister to Yellowstone National Park. I've never been there before. Some of you probably have. It's on my to-do list, my bucket list, if you will. One of those things where you definitely want to see it sometime in your life, especially when it comes to the beautiful forest, all the animals involved, and then there's this location there that truly stands out. In fact, it's known as the Norris Geyser Basin, but there's actually about 10,000 other places that are very similar to this. At these locations, they have these large pockets of boiling acidic water that range throughout the entire area. They look very beautiful to look at. In fact, you're looking at one of the pictures of it here. Very interesting. No, it looks like the way I read in one of the articles, it was beautifully described. It was like a technicolor of nature. So many beautiful colors that you can see all under one place, and then see nature create this. It's almost like a work of art. It's amazing that this happens there in nature. And these hot springs, these locations there, they've been around for as long as, I guess, anyone who had first discovered, in this case, Yellowstone National Park. They've been around since that time period. In fact, the first lives claimed when it comes to the deaths there in Yellowstone National Park happened in 1890. So it goes to show that this park has been claiming lives for well over a century in this case. But these beautiful locations, they have lots of warnings, lots of signs surrounding them. If you go to those places, and they're known as thermal features, which include geysers, hot springs, steam vents, there's plenty of signs around telling you stay within the protected spots. Like there's these areas like you see here where they have secure wooden planks, wooden platforms that you can go around. You can see through the 100% safe methods all the beauty surrounding you without necessarily having any danger after. Now Yellowstone is still a danger in of itself. There's always the idea that there's this super volcano underneath it and everything else that's tied to it, like a dormant one at least. But for the most part, if you go there and you stay within those boundaries, then you should be fine. The problem, though, is, of course, people will always have the idea that they can go around these vents. In fact, some of the signs point to the fact that keep your pets close, keep your children close, try to make sure that anything involving taking pictures within other restricted areas is a no-no. That's all of it there in place because no doubt other people have experienced misfortune. I mentioned earlier that the first known death was 1890. Can you believe that since that time period, there have been a good number of deaths. 22 lives have been claimed from this national park. Some of them involving previous hot springs, others involving other items like falling off the cliffs, falling off dangerous sides, bear maulings, apparently, too. This one, though, being essentially boiled alive and then dissolved alive, takes the cake. So here's what happened. Colin was with his sister there, again, exploring the area, but they decided to go around one of the safe spots. Of course, that's a huge no-no. And the reason for it, there was actually, and I remember at the time, there was different stories that came out. One was because they wanted to take like a selfie. It's one of those Instagram moments where they had to have the perfect spot to share all of their friends. But now it seems like through the passage of time, the real story came out. Apparently, Colin wanted to go to one of these locations, and as weird as it sounds, he wanted to test the temperature surrounding it to see if it was a place known as a hot pot or someplace where they could soak in the streaming water. This is forbidden in the park. Apparently, this is a term that's so common there, or at least there's enough people that try this, that this is a term and a practice that's forbidden absolutely. So people apparently go there, they find one of these springs, they kind of like test it out with their foot or their hand, whatever's the case, and if it's not that hot, in a sense, like not hot enough to boil you alive, then they have to have that once in a chance lifetime of soaking in one of these acidic pools. It's crazy, isn't it? Why would somebody do something like this? But apparently, there's enough circumstance, enough occurrence for people to do this. Well, here's what happened. No sooner than he went off the restricted pathways, the protected ones, the ones I was mentioning earlier involving the woodworks, then he started creeping towards the edge of one of those locations, one of those streaming waters that had this acidic body within it. And what happened, of course, is nature took its course. No sooner did he step off than the ground beneath him, as he got closer to it, was not as firm as he thought. It actually gave away, and he in turn ended up tumbling within one of those acidic spots. Again, it's located there in Norris Geyser Basin, which apparently, according to the Washington Post article, and I could link for below, has some of the hottest elevated temperatures yet. Like it's about 199 degrees as a starting point. Like that's like really really hot, obviously, and then at the highest point it's over 400 degrees, and of course this water is acidic. So not only do you have something involving scalding water that'll just completely just make your day go bad to worse, but it's very very acidic. He tumbled in, his sister started screaming, freaking out, trying to draw attention. They actually were able to get some of the help from the Yellowstone National Park, but of course it was too little, too late. In fact, one of the park rangers stated that it's futile to try to do anything at that point because it would just claim more lives, considering the very risky ground surrounding the area of that acidic base. When it comes to that area there, no one else can set foot for that reason, and so there's not really much they can do. Death was either instantaneous or he drowned within that acidic place. But the worst part was that afterward, because of the acidic nature there, nothing was left. Absolutely everything was gone from him. His entire body, his bones, his teeth, nothing. The acid did its job. It's almost as if he never existed on this earth. Interestingly enough, there's only about one, I think it was a sandal that was left. It must have fallen off whenever he tumbled into the acidic base or the acidic water, but that was able to be retrieved, and that was pretty much the only thing that remains from this young man. Poor guy. He was 23 years old at the time, and he happened to do this all in front of his sister. No doubt she is marked for life when it comes to this experience. But isn't that gruesome? Isn't that just grotesque? Imagine you're tumbling down in those seconds thinking, you're scrounging around trying to grasp onto anything. There's nothing to do to actually hold on to, and then you fall into that scalding water, and that however long you're able to survive, even if let's say you're swimming and trying to move about, there's no escaping it, and then finally the acidic nature just claims you, and then you're gone completely. completely gone from this earth. So this is a warning, a telltale sign for everyone out there when you go to visit these locations. As the Washington Post article says, there's signs around warning visitors: stay on the boardwalks, keep protecting your children and your pets. These springs look beautiful, but they're very, very dangerous. And make sure that there's nothing that you're doing that involves going away. It seems like when I was reading the article that there's obviously tours that take you around, but it's kind of like you can walk around on your own. The fact that these two were able to do so without anybody telling him like, where are you going, or something along those lines, it makes me think that you can just spend all day long, if you wanted to, by yourself walking around that area. Someone point that out to me, please. Let me know if that's correct or not, because if so, then it kind of makes you wonder, like, when's the next person that's going to be claimed on this doing something dumb along these lines. And again, it was fascinating to read how people thought originally it was like an Instagram moment that claimed his life, but no, it was more along the lines of, I guess, a more dumber thing when it comes to trying to enter this thing, doing a hotspot, doing something involving like a jacuzzi within the Yellowstone National Park. But if anybody has any more info, anything I might have missed, please post those comments below, and let me know also what you think of these videos. If I see something else that stands out, I'll probably do more of these as well, or I'll even do a suggestion video later on too. So, all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.